This is my solar-powered e-bike, and I constructed for the purposes of hauling my campsite and my drone flying equipment up into like remote places like mountains to fly drones. So I guess we can start from the front. There's a front pannier, headlight, front dash cam. I have panniers. This carries my bike repair kit. I have a tarp for covering it in the rain. It's got speakers on the inside for GPS and radio stuff. This is a GPS mount. My bike controls. This controls my. This controls my GPS, Android Auto, and my dash cams. Bags or water bottles is just pretty much whatever I have in my cockpit. Battery, believe it or not, it is waterproof. All the connectors inside are waterproof. This is just redundancy. This is my main power wire going down to my motor. It's a 2 kilowatt thing.
So that's a 2 kilowatt motor?
It's officially 1.5, but I'm overvolting it. So power-wise, it is roughly 2 kilowatts. Back here, I got a 12 volt 30 amp converter. It takes the battery and converts it to 12 volts here. Which then in here I have USB 5 volts.
And then what's the battery on?
This is a 52 volts, 17.5 amp hour battery. I have another one that's bigger. It's 25 amp hours.
So that's converted to 12 volt. And not the other way around?
Yeah, this powers this.
Okay.
Suspension seat post. My bags. 76 liter parachute bags. They fold up very nicely like this. They're not in use. And I have a cargo net that goes over this whole thing. And here is I custom welded this frame here. Normally this type of trailer would go through the back axle of the bike, but I have these rails on the bottom, so that's not an option. So I made this fake third axle and I attach it to these wall mounts here. And then we have the trailer. There are two 175 watt solar panels stacked on top of each other. They're flexible panels, and I welded my frame out of aluminum L brackets. L stock.
So they two of them. Okay.
One can be used while I'm biking, but when I'm set up on my campsite, I can use two. Underneath this is just a random storage.
This is where you keep all your camping gear?
This is my solar charge controller. It takes power from... No sun, but it takes energy from the panels and steps it up to the voltage required for my battery, and it charges through a cable that goes this way into this XT90 here, and that goes straight into the battery.
Okay. And so you only using this battery. How many kilowatts is this battery?
Kilowatts. Probably around 17. It's 17.5 times 52.
How many watts is the battery? Watt hours?
This one probably 1.2 kilowatts. Watt hours.
So is it 1.2 kilowatt hours? Okay, so that's a decent amount.
That was what I needed to do.
And then what is this, a spare battery?
This battery
Oh, for your
goes into the drone. It carries two of them side by side. In there.
And this is 12 volt?
6S 22.2 volts.
Okay.
And 10,000 milliamp hours.
So how far do you go on a charge with this thing?
With the trailer?
No, like what is your daily? How far can you go in a day with your setup?
I think the longest I've achieved is 100 miles in a day.
So 100 miles is a good day?
Pretty good day. I like to pick good days to go out. Wouldn't be too much fun dragging this in rain or bad weather.
Okay, and then And if it rains, you don't go anywhere.
Or I just, I could stop.
You
or
stop,
I just
get
go
it-
slower.
Yeah. But so 100 miles is like an average good day.
On a good day.
Okay. And that's so when you stop, you stop in the middle of the day and charge with both your solar panels, and then
Yes, if I stop, I can put these panels in series and I get double power. If I'm in Civilization, I also have a standard wall charger, but it's twice as. I can charge this pack to full in. I think I've been able to get it from like 30% up to like 90-something% in like less than 4 hours, a little over 3, I think.
4 hours on the solar panels.
Yeah, both panels.
Okay. Do you normally just like put the panels out and then charge all the way and then go 100 miles and then stop?
The time I did 100 miles, I started with a full battery and I just went. I don't think I deployed both panels. I just had the one charging the battery.
Okay. So you started with a full battery, and then you went 100 miles at the end of the day with the
Pretty
empty
much flat. Yeah.
with flat. And then, so how long does it take you to go 100 miles?
I am averaging probably between on solar normally. I think my cruising speed is going to be 15 and 20 miles an hour.
Okay.
Terrible. Well, 5 hours is very optimal. If I was going 20, I think there was numerous stops in between to do other things, but that time I completed the trip in. I started at 8 a.m. and arrived at. I think it was 11 hours for the entire way. It was getting pretty dark by the time I got there.
And you didn't even use a second panel. Yeah.
That was for after I set up camp. The next morning, I deployed both panels to charge the thing back up again, and then I left.
Like, what's the average? How far do you go on an average day?
With
Like
the
an
panels,
average, like if you did like a whole trip, like on an like how, like
an average day.
like maybe not like how far is the farthest trip you went?
I think it was that one with 100 miles.
Like your destination is only 100 miles away, or?
At that particular time, yes. I don't. It's not really for long distance. It's more that I just need power in remote areas to power my campsite and drone equipment.
So you go somewhere 100 miles away, and then you charge for a day, and then so it took you 3 days to go 100. 3 days to go 200 miles.
I didn't charge for a day. I just charged that morning. It was very sunny. I set up the panels. I set up the panels before I went to bed. So in the morning, as soon as the sun came up until around noon, I was charging, and then I departed.
So it took you 2 days to go 200 miles. That's actually really good.
It's quite nice.
So you did that both days in a row, 100 miles.
Unfortunately, I don't have too much time to actually do these trips. Normally, I don't use the trailer. The bike is actually a very reliable machine as my daily driver to go to university. So I average about 7 miles of commuting every day, and
Do you use a solar panel on the daily, or no? You only use that for trips?
just for trips. Normally, I take the panels off, and the trailer is actually very good for getting groceries. I have these welded frames for the trailer, but I'm also going to strap really long cargo to it. My most recent load was a surfboard, 2 surfboards. My buddy asked me to bring them up to San Francisco, so I biked from his apartment to my apartment, towing the surfboards.
You live in you live here?
We live in SD. We both live in SD, but I took the surfboards from his apartment to my apartment and loaded in my car and drove here.
Okay.
It would have taken a bit too long to mic here.
That's cool. Well, thank you for your time. Yeah, I'm working on building a solar. I've been thinking about building a solar powered bicycle to go across the country.
That would be very nice. Are you trying to do a trailer design, or are you going to put it on a really long bike?
I'm not quite sure. I think the easiest thing to do is buy like a stock e-bike and add a solar panel trailer to it.
My recommendation for that is, so the biggest thing that I think is good about my system is I can plug to the power wire directly into the battery, and that's because I requested the manufacturer make my battery with something called a common port BMS. So, you know, LiPos, you have the main power, and then you have these little balance plugs, right?
Yeah.
So the charger knows to balance the cells. Most e-bike batteries have that on the charging port, right? So you're charging, it goes through the BMS then into the battery, but the output port doesn't have that. So if you try to back charge the battery through just this wire, it will kind of work, but it's also kind of unsafe because it's not balanced.
Because it's not actually BMS, because the BMS is actually in the charger and not in the battery.
Well,
Or it doesn't have a full BMS in the batteries.
my common port BMS, it's more there's more MOSFETs, it's a little more expensive, but what it allows me to do is I don't need this anymore, it handles it for me. So I can output and charge to the same ports. And so this way, if I turn off the battery right now and add solar, the solar by itself could power the motor. Well, not really, because the battery acts as a good capacitor, but essentially as a capacitor. But it simplifies the system by a lot and allows you to charge at a much higher current than if you just use the side port. So if your charger can't handle the max amount of current that the solar is providing, you're wasting energy.
Yeah.
You want to get as much of it as you can, because solar is already not too efficient, and that's why. So yeah. My biggest tip is common port BMS on your batteries.
Yeah.
It will streamline your design significantly. Also, not a one-wheel trip, 2 wheels on the trailer. This is cool, but it's only good if you're going off-road. If you're trying cross-country, you want 2 wheels on the trailer so you're not tilting the entire weight with your bike. It's very tiring.
It's very tiring having a monorail design.
Exactly. The only reason why I did this is for the very specific purpose that it needs to traverse like mountain bike trails.
Yeah.
Trailers, ideally really long, then you can have both panels working at the same time.
Biggest camera I've done.
Of all the solar trailers I've seen, most people don't care about the width too much. I like to keep the width the same width as my bike. As a bike, California bike paths aren't great. They're like, 3 or 4 feet wide. I like to keep everything in that so the cars aren't sideswiping
So
me.
for example, this is the
Yeah.
I took with that setup. That's part of the reason why I made this thing.
Everything else is pretty straightforward. The MPPT does all the work for you.
Where do you get that PTT charge controller?
Amazon. It's called an Elojoy 400 watt MPPT. It's very unique in that it can directly output voltage.
These 52
That's high
feet.
enough for the
Yeah, because most charge controller you get output, lower output than that, and they can't take in a low voltage and put out a high voltage. Like you have to get 2 solar panels working at the same time all the time for it to even work. Most
one panel outputs, I think the specifications was like 23 volts open circuit. So 2 of them combines like 40 something volts. So if I have 2 in series, it's actually very efficient because I only have to step like 40 something volts up to 52, which is not too big.
And so you can go 100 miles on a charge.
With a big battery. This one is maybe only like 60.
Oh, you have a bigger battery than this?
The big one, it's the same port, but it comes out like this.
Okay.
This is a 17.5 amp hour. That one's a 25 amp hour.
So if you really want it, if you really need it, well, how long does? Yeah. So you could have 2 batteries. You really need it.
Yes.
You could have that one as a backup.
For my long trips, I usually do carry 2, just in case the solar isn't enough to compensate.